Hello, I'm Doug Crawford with the Board of Directors of the Santa Barbara Navy League, and we're here today at the Jewel of the Pacific, the Santa Barbara Yacht Club. And we're very honored to have our first District Supervisor, Salud Carbajal. Welcome to Santa Barbara Navy League TV.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for having me.
Well, we really do appreciate the work that you do for our county, and one of the things that's most important to Santa Barbara, I think, is the fact that we have a tremendous Navy League and have the opportunity to have lots of ships come and visit us. And I'd just be interested in understanding from your perspective what it is that you think the Navy and the Coast Guard and the Navy League and the Marine Corps and the Merchant Marines all bring to Santa Barbara County and our population.
Well, first of all, I think what the Navy League does is great. As a former serviceman and somebody who enlisted in the Marine Corps and served 8 years, I just think that what the Navy League stands for and what it does is just outstanding. The ships visiting, I think it's a great way of connecting our service men and women to our community and allowing our community to interface with them and showing our support for what they do day in and day out for our country. And I just I think it's a wonderful vehicle that this organization provides for bridging our servicemen to our community.
Well, we appreciate that perspective. I think there's somewhere around 1,300 people that are members of this Navy League, which makes it one of the largest Navy Leagues in the world, without a port especially. And I think that one of the reasons that we have the ships coming, of course, the Navy League is about educating the public and that we are a maritime nation, and it's about helping the men and women of the sea services and their families. And speaking of families, can you give me a little bit of background on what your family's military service is about?
Great. Well, I feel extremely privileged, especially as an immigrant myself, to have served in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I followed in my brother's footsteps, who also served in the Marine Corps for about 8 to 12 years. I can't recall if it was 8 or 12. It's all a blur at this point. He's a little bit older than me. But I also have 6 nephews that have served our country in the Army. 3 which are warrant officers today, and 1 who is a captain in the Army. And 2 other servicemen that also serve in the Army from another sister at this point in time. I have a brother who I mentioned earlier who served in the Marine Corps, but also when he came out of the service, enlisted in the Navy and served during Operation Desert Storm on a ship in the Middle East.
Well, you know, I'd like to say thank you, obviously, for what we do. We always try to say thank you to the men and women of the sea services, but when we hear it, that's an extraordinary family story, that you've got so many that provide so much. And if you could give us a feel for why do you think all of your family members join? What is it that attracts them to serving our country this way?
Well, I think first and foremost it's service to duty and service for our country. And secondly, I think that aside from all the wonderful learning opportunities I think that the military provides to so many young men and women, it also is an adventure. And you're able to visit many places.
Like Santa Barbara.
Like Santa Barbara.
Right.
You get to interact with so many people from different walks of life. And it's a wonderful opportunity to, 1, serve our country, and 2, have an opportunity to meet so many wonderful people. Doug, I know a lot about the Navy League, but what else does the Navy League do for our Navy seamen women that come back into the community? What other things does the Navy League do?
Well, transitioning from the sea services, Salud is one of the main initiatives of the Navy League, and actually the Navy League's since 1958 has been involved in what's called Highline Online, and now it's the Transition Assistance Program. And everybody that comes out is put through 1 week of training of reorienting themselves to civilian life. And one of the biggest components of that now is the Navy League Online Hiring Center at www.navyleague.info. And everybody that comes out of the sea services and that has transitioned out of the sea services, as well as their family members, are eligible to go online without cost and be able to complete in about 10 minutes, an online electronic profile of their career in Navy terms that will then be used for being matched against all of the open jobs of all of the companies that support the Navy and work with the Navy, all the corporate members of the Navy League.
That's great.
Less than 10% of the people that are coming out of the service today actually have a job before they get out. So I
Well,
think when you think about that, I hope that maybe you have some family members that we might be able to help, whether they've got a job now or are about to transition.
well, I'll make sure I mention that. I have my daughter's boyfriend just got back from a tour in Iraq, and he does have a job because when he was mobilized from the reserves, he was working at a bank, and this provides him a lot more opportunities should he want to pursue other possibilities of employment. So thank you.
Well, it's great. The benefit of the hiring center is that it's an automatic matching and ranking, kind of a Google, if you will, that shows what the best matched jobs are for the person's skills and where they want to live and what their education is and what they want to be and accomplish. So it's an automated process. So it actually reduces the number of interviews that someone has to take from 4 to 6 interviews to get a job down to 1.4 interviews per job hire now. So I appreciate your asking that question and hope that you'll join us in promoting and getting the word out on it.
Absolutely, thank you. That's a great service.
Well, I share being an immigrant with you. I came from Canada. I came north of the border instead of south of the border. But the idea that there were differences in us, in Canada we had differences, they were language barriers. Here in the United States we have cultural differences and language differences, and can you speak a little bit to what you think some of the solutions are as far as what might bind us together, or how we might be able to do a better job of not only being Americans but being fellow citizens in this country?
Absolutely. I think that there's so many issues that divide us. I think there's some natural differences, and they're not all bad. But I think we need to look at ways that we can come together as a country. And one of the things you and I talked about is this National Service Initiative. Perhaps a Peace Corps approach internally in our own country, domestically. How can you make it mandatory for every young person, either out of high school or college, to serve in public service, in a broad spectrum of public service opportunities, whether it's teaching, whether it's military, whether it's in hospitals, an opportunity for them to serve and gain that ethic and give back to our country, and at the same time provide an opportunity for people of all walks of life, different ethnic groups, different income levels, to come together and just learn to deal with one another, learn to work with one another, learn that we have common goals. And I think that such an initiative would be a wonderful thing for our country.
It's an amazing concept that I think deserves a lot more attention and a lot more discussion. I'd like to schedule perhaps a panel to be able to take a lead on that and try to get that into the mainstream discussion, at least, because everyone that I've been talking to, from the Lions Club to the Navy League to the World War II Museum, where we met with General Ziggy, was it?
Yes.
The idea that an initiative like that could do for me, what it did for me when I got drafted during Vietnam, was it not only trained me to be a more responsible individual and give some direction to my life, but to get along with other people, and not only get along with them, but take care of them and watch out for them. And I'm very thankful for that. So I appreciate the fact that you brought that idea up, and that might be an initiative that we can try to give some more discussion to. I think if there's anything else on that you'd like to talk about, let's do that, and then let's interject it into one of our next Navy League meetings.
Absolutely. I think the more we talk about it, it's a complex effort, I think, but I think the more we talk about it and we recognize the value that such an initiative would bring to our country and its strength, I think it would make it really worthwhile for the conversation to continue nationally. And the more we talk about it, the more the better the possibilities are to make it happen someday in the future.
Well, it's one thing that I would certainly hope for and vote for. And in the meantime, here in our Santa Barbara community, we've had cancellation of a JROTC program in the Santa Barbara High School area. So the Navy League is really working now to build the Sea Cadets, which is called the Airpac Squadron, Santa Barbara County's own group of young people. And so we'd really appreciate your taking a look at that and perhaps joining them and visiting one of their sessions. It's now a group that's grown to almost 25 people from just 2 in a year and a half, and winning some national awards. But again, it's a first step in bringing people together. And Salud, we'd like to thank you for your support of the Navy League, and certainly your family's support overall for this great country of ours. And we look forward to many, many more years of being able to talk with you and enjoy Navy League events with you.
Thank you, Doug. Look forward to working with you, and again, thank you for including me in your program.
It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, Salud. Hi, I'm Doug Crawford with the Board of Directors of the Santa Barbara Navy League, and we're here at the Santa Barbara Yacht Club, the Jewel of the Pacific, and here today with John McGowan, a member of the Santa Barbara Navy League Board of Directors and community member. Welcome.
Thank you, Doug. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, we'd be interested in learning a little bit about what is it you do in your day-to-day life, and more importantly, what you do as you served in the armed forces.
Well, Doug, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was with the 5th Marines. I had my desert training at 29 Palms, and I had my mountain leadership and cold weather survival up at Bridgeport. And after the 5th Marines, I went to the 7th Marine Motor Transport, and then I ended up in the 1st Marine Air Wing at Atsugi, Japan. And today I am a real estate agent with Village Properties. I've been in the real estate for 22 or 23 years.
Yeah.
Totally enjoy it. In fact,
Yep.
I think I sold you a house.
You did. You sold me one of my favorite houses, as a matter of fact. I appreciate that, and all of that Marine training prepared you well for that tough business here in Santa Barbara.
That's true. That's
and,
true.
And I know that you're one of the leaders in the community in that area, and I'd like to hear a bit about what committees or what are you doing with the Navy League?
Well, I joined the Navy League a few years ago because I found out that there was no representation from the Marine Corps on the Navy League, and I didn't think that was quite the right balance. So we have on our Navy League, I think about, 14?
Just about 1,300 members, heading to 1,400.
Right, and one Marine, so we kind of balance things out a little bit. And what I like, being a member of the Navy League, I particularly like my role as being the liaison between the Navy League and the Coast Guard, and that's primarily what I do.
And we have the cutter Blackfin here, and we have the Marine Safety Detachment, active units, very active units.
That's true. That's true.
Can you speak? I think that there might be some events coming up that you're headlining and taking the lead on in the not too distant future.
Well, what we're trying to do is give the Coast Guard and the Marine Safety Detachment more exposure in Santa Barbara, especially with the people that live here. And to that extent, we are in conversations right now with the people in Carpinteria and Avocado Festival, hoping that we can be invited to join them as not only having a booth along the street there, but also we would like to bring a cutter in or some Coast Guard ship and try to be a small part of that wonderful festival.
A ship visit, I remember a ship visit to Carpinteria, I think it was about 1992. The USS Berkeley came in, and that was when I first took my family out on a ship, was out of the Carpinteria Pier. So it's good to be able to spread some of those ship visits around between other communities in Santa Barbara
That's
County.
true. Those are wonderful memories that we have.
Well, we know that the Avocado Festival has been something that's a real mainstay for a good number of years. So it'd be a real honor for the Navy League to be a part of that event and to help them do what they do in Carpinteria at the Avocado Festival.
I agree.
Well, one other point. I know that you have kids and pretty active, as I understand.
Yeah, yes, I have 3 kids, and they're all very active.
And a wife that's a nurse.
A wife that's a nurse, yes.
And we have a Sea Cadet program here as a part of the community also, that we're actually trying to help out and build the Sea Cadet program. So anything that you might be able to do, spread the word around with those kids and see if they might have some interest in it. That'd be a help.
I'd be happy to do so.
Okay, well, we enjoyed your visit with us here today. We look forward, and we want to thank you very much for all you do as a member of the Board of Directors of the Santa Barbara Navy League. Your addition has been a real professional addition, and we hope that we'll be able to keep you there for a few years.
I'm sure you'll be able to keep me there, and thanks for having me.
John, I'm interested in a Marine's perspective on the issue of Americans, and what are the things that we might be able to do to bind us together rather than accentuating our differences. You got any opinion on that?
Well, I think so, Doug. I think this talks about what kind of service can young people do after they get out of high school. And you told me you were going to ask me this question, and so I thought about it, and it seemed like with every answer I could come up with, there were 10 more questions that popped into mind. But I would like to see more people get involved with our rights and our freedoms and not just take them for granted. And I think a good place to start there would be after high school. And Doug, I'm not talking about the military totally. Military certainly fits in, but I'm also talking about everything else that society needs, and also what we need in time of danger or in time of a catastrophe like Katrina. There are a lot of different things that young people can do to feel part and give back to our country. I know as a military man, I don't want someone as my point or someone watching my back that is not emotionally involved in what they're doing. So I would be very in favor of some kind of input from young people.
So service of some nature, those that wanted to serve in the military could and would before their college or whatever else, before they went on with their life, but to provide other paths for those people as well. Because as you say, it's really important that the wonderful thing of our services today is that those people are emotionally there, they're volunteer, and they're some of our favorite sons and daughters.
That's true.
And you wouldn't want anyone else but those people protecting each other.
I agree. Well said.
That's a very good point. Thank you for your perspective on that. Hi, I'm Doug Crawford with the Board of Directors of the Santa Barbara Navy League here at the Santa Barbara Yacht Club, the Jewel of the Pacific, and I'm here with Matt Wilson, a firefighter in the Santa Barbara Fire Department. And Matt, would like to thank you for coming on to our show today. Would you tell us something about yourself and what your job is, what you're doing?
Well, I'm originally from Santa Barbara. I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, and I currently live in Santa Barbara with my wife, Tracy, and my two boys, Dylan and Luke. And I've been with the Santa Barbara City Fire Department for 5 years now. And I'm just here to tell you a little bit more about the fire department and our involvement with the Ronald Reagan when it was in town.
Well, that was great, and it's coming back, so all we have to do here is think about the future. But you know what? It's a good point that you bring up. I'm interested to understand, why do the firefighters really get interested in doing what you guys did, made Santa Barbara like an old-time great town, you know, the baseball game and the hot dogs and the cheerleaders and the flags flying, and our Santa Barbara Fire Department always seems to kick some butt when the ships come in. So why do you guys do it?
Well, generally we do it because we enjoy playing softball, we enjoy getting out in the community, and especially with the sailors, men and women of the Navy, when they come into town, it's important for not only the firefighters but the city of Santa Barbara to show our support for what they do. And softball game, barbecue, hot dogs, all that stuff just is something that we could relate to.
Well, we'd like to thank you. I mean, you guys go out of your way. It's not just a softball game and a little competition. It's barbecues and shirts and bringing them over and socializing with them. And I mean, are there things that you find that you have in common with these sailors?
I think so. On the fire department level, you know, we both serve the public. Theirs, of course, is on an international level. Ours is the city of Santa Barbara, and then in some cases the county of Santa Barbara, or even extended to the state, depending on the size of an incident. But generally we're public servants, and so we can relate on that level.
Well, tell me a little bit about what a firefighter does. How is it that you respond when you get a call, and what are your hours? What kind of thing?
Well, generally when we respond, when somebody calls 911, they have a situation that is beyond their control, and we're their insurance policy. They call us up, we respond, and we take over, take charge of whatever their problem is and resolve it to the best of our abilities. As far as the hours we work 24-hour shifts. They begin at 8 in the morning and end the next day at 8 in the morning. And we work about 10 shifts a month on average, sometimes more depending on the need.
Okay, and then when you have time off, it sounds like you have a lot of time off. What does that allow you to do as a firefighter?
Well, for me, right now my job is spending as much time with my kids as possible, and you know, we have various events going on at home between fixing up the house and watching the kids, going to t-ball games and things like that. So that keeps me busy right now on my days off.
Okay, well, as I said, we've got ships coming in. As you know, one of the main things that the Navy League in Santa Barbara does, and the reason that we've got one of the largest Navy Leagues in the world, even though we don't have a port here, but it's the #1 Liberty spot, and a lot of the reason for that is because of the way you guys treat them when they come in, and the way the city responds when they come in. We'd just like to know if you have any objection or any reason why you wouldn't continue to do what you're doing or anything?
Oh, absolutely not. As far as I know, our Firefighters Association is more than happy to step up again for any ship that comes in. I know the Ronald Reagan was not the first one. I think it was the third ship we did. We had I think it was a frigate or a cutter before that. So I think we've done 3 softball games so far.
I think it was the USS Denver and the Denver was the first ship to deliver Marines to Iraq before the invasion.
That's right. I understand that. We're more than happy to do it again. We loved it, and as a matter of fact, people have been asking me, when's another ship coming into town? And I told them I'd let them know as soon as I knew.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in full force to show the men and women of the Navy a great time here in Santa Barbara. I take a lot of personal pride in it. I've been born and raised in Santa Barbara, and now I'm representing Santa Barbara City Fire Department and the Santa Barbara City Firefighters Association. So I take great pride in stepping up and pushing events like this forward.
Well, that visibility in the neighborhood, and I mean, obviously you're in the neighborhood all the time, but to be a good host, and I mean, I know the association wants to do some good things and support the fire department. The Santa Barbara Navy League raises money purposely to be able to help the men and women when they're on board the ships by books and computers and chapels for them and things, creature comforts, a basketball court and that sort of thing. So I'd really like to recommend and endorse any activities in the Santa Barbara community. You got 100 or what number of people in the fire department? Do you know
right now it's see, we just picked up some new people, so it's just under 100, at least floor personnel. Then we have a number of people in fire prevention, and then we have administrative staff. So it's over 100 people that are working for the Santa Barbara City Fire Department.
Well, anything that we can do in this community to improve not only your service, but to give you better creature comforts while you're on that 24-hour service, I'd just like to really thank you for that and encourage everyone in our community to kind of ante up in their thoughts and their prayers and their pocketbooks.
We do have a charitable committee that we raise money for actually other local charities, and that's where we got the money to help donate and support the Ronald Reagan when it came in. Was from this charitable giving committee, and every year we do a golf tournament. Actually, this year it's actually going to be September 22nd, and it'll be at Glen Annie, and pretty soon we'll be getting the information out about that. We do also have a website that you can visit. It's IAFF525.org, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email us, and we'll be happy to answer.
Well, let us know, because as I mentioned, on 1,300 members, we'd love to be able to get the word out to them to be able to support that.
Well, if you like to golf, come on out.
Well, we like to help good causes too. I'd like to take a minute and just in recognition of the work and effort and support that you have given for the Santa Barbara Navy League and the men and women of our sea services, I'd like to thank you personally and present you with the Santa Barbara Council coin. And it's a special coin because it has our Stearns Wharf statue on it, and I hope you guys will take it back to the fire station and share it with everyone back there.
Well, thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I see something that you got here on your lap. It looks like kind of a special fire department.
It's a fire department t-shirt. It was designed by one of our truck engineers. His name is Mike Schuett, and he's a great artist. And we've been going back and forth for about a month and a half trying to come up with a great design. And what we have on the front is we have the Santa Barbara City Fire Department logo, which is on our uniform shirts, as well as the official logo for the USS Ronald Reagan. Of course, we had to get proper approval before we could do this. And then on the back, Mike Schuett designed this back, and it says CVN 76. The V is the shape of a carrier coming towards you, and then SBFD at the bottom with our ladder truck in front of the dolphin fountain in front of Stearns Wharf.
Oh, excellent.
So what we did is I can't remember the exact number of shirts we developed, but we ended up giving pretty much all of them away to sailors that played in the softball game with us, and then we also gave some away to the Navy League members, and they were a big hit. We actually ended up putting in a second order after the Ronald Reagan left, because there were so many people that were demanding more. So we bought them and sold them for pretty much cost, and just to cover our costs. That was really our thing. We weren't doing any more than that.
Well, Santa Barbara collection item and a memento of a great event, and a great partnership and brotherhood between the fire department and the Navy. And we'd like to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you.
And look forward to seeing you and taking us out to the next ball game.
Well, we will do that.
Hello, I'm Doug Crawford with the Santa Barbara Navy League, and I'm very, very honored to be here this evening with Annette Carroll. It was so kind of you to open your home and allow us to meet here and share a little bit of your history and the reason that you are fond of the Navy. Would you mind sharing some of that with us now? You have some Navy in your family.
I'd be delighted to share. First, to share the home, because I'm so thrilled to be in Santa Barbara and have been for the last 35, 37 years. But thrilled to share with the Navy, because this has been part of my husband's world and then my world. But I'm 76 years old, and I have lived through lots of times of history in which the United States Navy has made me very proud and allowed me to be free. And I can't forget that.
Well, bless you for, sharing that with us, especially. I can reflect back on the last time I was in your home. We had the USS Lassen here in Santa Barbara. This house was packed with wonderful young men and women.
That was so exciting,
yeah,
to have all these delightful young men walk in, and I know they're protecting me and representing me. And we have a lot of politics that run back and forth, and people have lots to say. But I looked at them and I felt such gratitude to them. And it was also lots of fun. Some thought I was like their grandmother, and some felt good to be in a home. And Santa Barbara can offer a home to them as they go around protecting me.
Well, you opening your home to them allows us to hear comments like Santa Barbara is the #1 port that people want to come to because of the love and the open homes like yours, Annette. You bring some other things to life with the work that you do. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a gift to be able to say, I'll do what I think I can do. And sculpture was a lucky thing that came out of Santa Barbara adult ed education. It probably would have come out some other way, but this was so lovely. And it allows me to flower and express myself in many ways. It's been a lovely gift, and one that I have shared very, very much with my community and all over the world.
So in the spirit of all of the wonderful camaraderie that you have shown and the wonderful respect that you have shown to the men and women of our sea services, we'd like to say thank you, and you'll always be a part of the Santa Barbara Navy League and a part of Santa Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you very much, but I would like to accept this also because my darling husband, who was so important to Santa Barbara, as the founder and director of the Tri-Counties Regional Center, was a young Navy lieutenant, and he was so proud to be part of the Navy. So thank you. His children, thank you.
Well, we salute you.